Dostoevsky famously said, "Deprived of meaningful work, men and women lose their reason for existence. They go stark, raving mad." I think that there is profound truth in that statement, and I think it applies very liberally to the apathetic, purposeless existence so many of us are faced with in the modern world. Maybe I'll start this video off by saying, as someone who creates content in the genre of self-development and relationships, I think that a lot of self-improvement is a cope. People are more directionless and apathetic and addicted than ever before in human history, despite having access to so many resources. And no, it's not because we are overworked. In fact, in average in Canada and America, we work less hours now than we did 50 years ago. And yet apathy and purposelessness continues to rise. Now, we could talk about how the average life is far less affordable now than it was 50 years ago, which is a legitimate problem and the cause of a lot of issues today. But the truth is, people can find meaning even without means. In reality, meaning is not found in having more. So obviously, materialism in itself is not the road that leads to meaning and away from madness, as even millionaires can be plagued with meaninglessness and madness. Money is not a source of meaning. It is only a tool and a magnifier. So in this video, I'm going to attempt to explain what I mean when I'm talking about meaninglessness and offer some perspectives towards finding the true antidote to apathy for all of you ambitious self-improvement junkies like me, and also all of you other assorted lost ones who are also working on paving the meaningless road to madness.
Madness. This is Sparta!
It can't only be me that has realized that self-improvement and personal gain starts to become nothing more than a way to justify our bullshit on a continuum, chasing waterfalls and wild geese around in circles, searching for a finish line that does not even exist. Every time I get to a new checkpoint in my external success, I am once again left with the question, what is the point? And I'm sure if I asked for a show of hands on who relates to that feeling, most of us would raise one and the rest would be lying. We need to have meaning. We need to have a why. We need to have a reason for what we are doing that is bigger than ourselves. I think it is important to recognize that for the majority of human history and human evolution, our very survival depended on the work that we did every day and on the ways that we contributed to our communities. For example, chopping wood suddenly becomes extremely meaningful work if your life depends on the wood that you chop. So maybe we wouldn't feel quite so aimless if our lives depended on our day-to-day actions, and this conversation then would cease to exist. Not that I would trade the safety and comfort that I take for granted every day for a life set to survival mode by any means. But at the end of the day, if you are working without a truly meaningful reason for your pain and sacrifice, it will begin to erode you from the inside out. But if there is a meaningful reason for your pain and sacrifice, and you believe what you are doing is valuable, you can overcome trials and tribulations beyond your own perceived limitations. As Viktor Frankl stated in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. In my observation, people who lack responsibility, people who don't work, people who live solely for themselves, people who don't seek meaning beyond their own noses, people who are slaves to hedonism and greed and ego are almost always madder than hatters, degenerates, liars, scammers, slaves to their vices, mentally and physically unwell, usually addicts, whether to sex or porn or substances or materialism or whatever else helps cope with the stark raving madness brought on by a lack of meaningful work.
I don't want to work. I just want to bang on this mug all day.
Did you ask me here for any specific reason?
And yet we live in a upside down world that glorifies individualism and hedonism and materialism, that measures the value of people by the level of external validation they can acquire. We worship and envy those who live their lives trying to do as little work as humanly possible. People who sell the idea of the 2-hour workday, spending the rest just enjoying yourself and traveling and living in the lap of luxury.
Hey everybody, it's Samantha here. So today I thought I would give you guys my highly requested nighttime routine. But before we do that, I have merch. So if you want to buy my merch, it starts at $1,000 and then it goes up. But if you want a discount, use the code You're Getting Ripped Off and you get a 1% discount. Okay guys, so the first thing I do when I get home after a long and tiring day promoting myself, first things first, I always film my TikToks and my Instagram stories because I just have to stay relatable and I just have to give the fans what they want. Convince them to buy a thing that they really don't need that will just benefit me and make me rich. So I love giving them money tips because I remember being poor. Here's how I became a billionaire at 21. I had rich parents. You know, everything in my life has just come so easy to me, you know? And I think it's because of manifestation.
So that is our great ambition, to do as little as possible, to try to get so comfortable we never have to get up and move again. If this is what our society sees as ambition and virtue and success, is it any wonder why we are on this road to madness? Disagree with me if you want to, but I can't help but think of many reality stars and influencers being prime examples of meaningless work. Pseudo-celebrities whose main job is to find ways to create enough drama to keep people talking about them.
Look at those beautiful glasses. They were $25,000. They're like 4 carats of diamonds, and then they're gold python, and they're made of gold. Did you know? 25,000. A gold python, 4 carats of diamonds.
Fist in your f***ing face. You think I'm f***ing scared of jacks? You f***ing think I couldn't take jack?
I'm this close. I'm gonna hit him.
150 pounds soaking wet. Please let me put my fist in your face. Don't cross me in front of Lisa.
Talk about meaningless work, albeit entertaining. And I guess entertainment isn't without value, but should we be surprised by the messiness and madness that seems to surround such characters and culture? And yet we idolize them and reward the associated behaviors with fame and fortune. It's honestly a shame how we celebrate the shameless. Understand, what we choose to celebrate in society is what creates our celebrity culture. Celebrate celebrity. So maybe we are living in a world that is selling us tickets to the madhouse. I guess we could say at one extreme end of the spectrum, survival mode forces a person to become useful and contribute meaningfully, while on the other side, abundance, extreme abundance especially, allows a person's hands to become idle, and idle hands build idols to try to create meaning. There is a proverb in the Bible that says, idle hands are the devil's workshop. And this is why I say for people to not chase utopia, but instead create utility. Become useful and do meaningful work. Make a difference for yourself and for the people around you. Use your unique skills and experiences to create an impact, to give more than you take. Because the truth is, a lot of us are either trying to take things to fill this void of meaning in our lives, or we have kind of just given up on ourselves and on the world, and we are just going through the motions of life, another hamster on the wheel trying to stay one coping mechanism ahead of depression. So where can we find balance and meaning? Well, I think first and foremost, we humans are social creatures by nature. At our core, we want to feel like we are accepted, valued, and contributing members of a team. And this is why family can be such a powerful place of meaning and motivation. But too few of us are born into healthy homes, and fewer of us are choosing to start families responsibly and remain committed to them. And we live in a world of isolation and individualism and consumerism. We live in a world of cubicle workers sitting under fluorescent bulbs, sending emails into the ether all day, not seeing the fruits of our labor or any changes or genuine impact for our contributions, maybe a monthly acknowledgement over a Zoom meeting, just cogs in a machine that doesn't truly care about us, having the same shallow conversations with our coworkers every week who pretend to care about our personal lives. Should we be surprised by how many people are struggling with meaning and madness in their lives? Maybe this concept is even one of the factors behind why it seems like the people who work hard labor jobs with a team, who struggle together in camaraderie, will laugh you out of the room for complaining about a 40-hour work week. Maybe not all work carries the same level of meaning, and maybe some people learn how to derive meaning from their work, and still others seek meaningful work outside of their occupation. No matter the case, I firmly believe that a sense of purpose and belonging are the essential foundations that mental health and meaning are built on. We need connection, we need a cause, and we need to know that our sacrifice is not for nothing. Even speaking from personal experience, it still feels a little bit odd and weird to admit out loud, but poetry saved my life. It quite literally saved me from myself. It was in the writing and sharing of the thoughts and lessons that came from the more painful places and times in my life. It was in seeing my courage to be vulnerable with myself begin to encourage others to do the same. I think that was the first time that I felt like my unique skill set brought value and connection to other people in a meaningful way. Previous to that, I think that playing competitive team sports served as a medium for meaningful work in my life, because when you are on a sports team, you must bring your skills to that team and play a meaningful part in order to win, which is one of the reasons why I am a big believer in kids participating in team sports growing up whenever possible. I think it sets the stage for a mindset that inherently has a deeper understanding of the importance of meaningful work, and also of how an individual must contribute to goals greater than the individual. Fun fact, over 80% of all Fortune 500 CEOs and executives, men and women alike, are former competitive athletes. Of course, correlation and causation are always more nuanced than that, but it is no coincidence. I digress. The other part of my personal experience that ties into this whole idea posed by Dostoevsky's ideas around meaningful work and madness was found in the state of limbo that I found myself in for the years between the ending of my sports career and the beginning of my work as a personal trainer, and then on to an author and content creator. For years in my 20s, I found myself thirsty, seeking to take as much as I could from the world, searching the bottoms of bottles, getting lost in the dim lighting of nightclubs, but mostly in the attention and validation from women. But nothing was ever enough, and no one was ever enough. In the meaninglessness of it all, I needed more and more and more to try to satisfy the emptiness in my soul. Little did I realize it at the time, but I had started on the road to madness. And I won't get into too many of the dirty details, but I definitely started going off the deep end. I made a lot of poor decisions at that time, and I was mentally and emotionally unstable to the point I began to practice physical self-harm, which is what finally set off my internal alarm bells that something was dangerously wrong. It was not until I experienced enough pain and heartbreak and loss and betrayal and grief. It wasn't until all of those things hit me hard enough to wake me up from my madness. And then I had a choice to either take the painkillers and vices up another notch or try to get off of them altogether. Thankfully, I chose the latter, and not everyone does. The highway to hell is wide, and the path to healing is not linear. And I don't know what will bring each unique individual who hears this a greater sense of meaning, but I do know that most of us are not in a good way and we are not set up for success. Most of us do work in menial jobs for companies that don't care about us, voting for puppet politicians that don't really care about us, living in communities that don't really know us, and in many cases going home to dysfunctional families who don't seem to care much about us either, at least beyond what we can produce and provide, which doesn't say much for the average person who is in debt and hardly getting by these days. And at the very least, having their respect and admiration could help make the struggle a little more worth it. But no, most of us feel like failures, consuming whatever we are sold, just another number sentenced to a lifetime of meaningless work until madness or death takes us. I hope that this conversation helps you dig deeper, because those words from Dostoevsky are quite the shovel. And with a shovel, you can either dig a grave or a foundation. The choice is yours, because I think that if we can wrestle with the idea of the relationship between meaningful work and madness and apply it to our lives effectively, most of everything else that we are struggling with will fall into place as a byproduct. Even the addiction to self-improvement will begin to evaporate, because even self-improvement is often just us attempting to find meaningful work.